Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's webinar. We are continuing the FDOT Traffic Plan series. This week we are working on Chapter 7, and Chapter 7 is the signalization tools. Today we are going to look at some CAD resources, cell libraries, our cell web pages, the FDOT menu, and the task menu, see what kind of resources that we have for the signalization features, as well as looking at the FDOT Signals application, the Draw Cell by Feature application by GeoPack, and the DNC Manager Signalization category to kind of browse through there and see what is available and how they work. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump in this morning. We've got a lot of exercises that are in this chapter, so I'm going to go ahead and get a good head start. So what do we have as far as resources? Well, let's take a look at, if I look on the FDOT menu, I've got the traffic plans menu. And if I go to signals, you'll notice that we have links to the cell libraries. There's two. We have the signalization cell library as well as the signal poles cell library. And we have the cell web pages available as well for both of those cell libraries. So those are some of the resources that we have. If you look at the FDOT Plans Development Task menu over here on the left, you'll notice that we have a few extra tools over here. Place signal poles, and I didn't mention this one. Place signal poles is a VBA that we have out there where you can grab the different poles that we have available in our cell library and place them using this tool. But I'm going to show you a different way to do that. And we also have the FDOT Signals application. And this application was designed many years ago. It's been around for quite some time. And it basically is set up, it's pretty simple. It has categories in here, and you pick which category that you want to work with. There's a lot of categories in here. So you pick which one that you want, and let's just say I'm looking for a timing chart. And so that's the very first one here. So when I open it up and I select the category, then I click on the green button with the green plus sign, and it brings up another dialog. And from here, I can select what it is that I want within that category. So maybe I'm looking for a timing chart with 8 movements, and I would tell it to place the tag cell, and it will place that cell in your file for you as a cell. It also tags them. If there are pay item numbers, it will tag them with the pay item numbers for DNC. Another example, just so you can kind of see a little bit more, let's say there's a loop assembly. If I bring that up, it's going to change this. Notice it even changes the name up here, top of the dialog, so that I'm looking at some different information. This tool, I will give you guys warning. It is available. There are options in here that it's pretty nice, but it does need to be updated. During my testing for this webinar, I got into this tool, dug into it a little bit more, and realized that even though some of the pay items that showed up in here were not correct, when I actually placed it, and you'll see this later in an exercise, it was correct. Basically, once I get everything in here, I can, select by the pay item structure so that it gets the correct pay item. Basically, it's looking for this AB if it's one with pay items. And then once I have everything selected, you just tell it to place the tag cell. Pretty simple tool. That is one, and we'll look at using this for some options. But there are other options as well. I'm going to go down here to quantities and open up DNC Manager. Open this up. In DNC Manager, we have a category for signalization. So we have a lot of pay items out here available for you to use, whether it's conduit, different types of poles, the pedestrian poles, so our loops, we've got pole boxes, so everything pretty much that you would need for your signalization. If it's a pay item, it's available in here. We're going to be in here quite a bit this morning, getting the different things that we need to set up. We're going to set up some basic, really basic polls in here. The biggest thing that I would like for you guys to take from all of this is some of where the information is at, the technique, the tools, not necessarily the design itself. Oh, and the last one, and it's actually in exercise 1, is the draw by feature. So exercise 7.1 is placing mast arm poles. So I want to close the DNC, and it just makes it a little bit faster. And I'm going to go up here to Geopack, Road, Plans Preparation, and down here to Draw Cell by Feature. This tool is a lot like the Draw Cell Group by Feature, but it's a little bit simpler to use. It has DNC loaded in the background, and basically it just has this, it doesn't have 2 tabs like the group one does, but it has some of the same information. So I go out, first thing that you need to do is get a category of what you're going to use. So we're going to be placing some mast arms. I'm going to tell it to furnish and install. We'll use actually I think it's 110, I think it was this one. Single arm, I'm just going to grab one. Let's just say this one. I have a mast arm assembly that I'm going to place in the plans. So it brings up whether I've got 1 arm or 2 arm. It'll bring up the correct cell. I have 2 options. I can put it by point, which basically you're going to place it in wherever you want to. You can set the angle. If you want to rotate it dynamically when you place it, you can toggle that on. I can tell it by on element. On element allows me to select a DGN chain or a DGN element or a chain. So we're going to use chain in this example. And then I'm going to we'll start, basically we've got pole 1 is going to be here, pole 2 will be in this corner, pole 3 will be in the bottom right, and pole 4 is in the bottom left as we're looking at the screen. So we'll start with pole 1, and the orientation based on how that cell is created and where its origin is. I need to place this at a 270-degree angle. We're going to make it relative to the chain. I want to use the center line of 98. The rest of the exercises that we've done and other chapters have been based on State Road 61, which goes up and down. But we're going to use baseline 98 to place this information today. The stationing is 325804. And you don't have to put the plus signs in. If you just type it in and click tab, it'll put the plus sign in there for you. And I want an offset of 4147. And before I hit draw, I wanted to just mention that when you open this tool, you may or may not, when you select chain, you may get the pop-up box for selecting your DDB file, or not your GPK file, sorry. And if it's not in the working directory, which means it's not in the signals directory, then that's going to come up empty. So how would I fix that? I would need to go to Geopack, Road, and go to my user preferences, go to Kogo preferences, and I've already done it, but you would go in and you would select where that GPK is located and set that path in here. In this case, it's in the roadway folder, and that's typically where it's going to be for most projects because they have the lead and they create and develop all the alignments that we use. you want to point it to the roadway directory so that it will find it, and then just tell this OK. And once you've done that, then if you still click here and there's nothing here, switch it to DGN and then back to chain, and it should populate with the chains that are in that GPK. I need to reset this. So once I have that information in, we fill everything out, I'm going to tell it to draw. Notice, can you see it sitting here? I have a little white dot here. So it has the cell, and I'm going to place the cell at that location. All right, so I've placed that pole in this inside this little curved island here. I want to go to the next one. It's at 33, 59, 34. And basically you just keep going around and putting all of our poles in here. It's an offset of 56.27. And that one is, oops, I didn't change my angle. And notice that I can change this information. It shows me what it is, but I have to actually data point in the screen to accept it. So if I, oops, and it's not set correctly, because obviously I don't want it to be out across the 98. I want this one to go across, I type that, 61, yeah, 61. So now it's facing the right direction. Okay. 33, 49, 31. And that one is offset. And I want this one to go 90 degrees. And now that one will, my arm can go across 98. And the last one down here, pole 4. And that needs to be 62.28. And draw, and that needs to be at an angle of 0. And draw. Okay, so now I have all of my poles sitting in here. So that is using the draw cell by feature. Okay. The next thing that we need all of our arms, right? We need something to put our signals on. So for our mast arms, we've got to draw this arm out here for all of these poles. I need to check something really quick. Element, settings, drawing scale. That's what I thought. The drawing scale needs to be 1 to 50. Because something just doesn't quite look right in here today. So the next thing that I need to do is to come in here and add the arms. So the way that we're going to do this with exercise 2 is to go in and use the cell web pages. I can get to them a couple of ways. I can get to them from the traffic plans menu. I can go down to signals, which is the second row, and the ones that have the little magnifying glass, those are our cell web page links. Okay, so I can use this to open that up. I can also get to that from the traffic plans, signals, signalization cell web pages, signalization library. Okay, so either way I can get to it. So I'm going to open this up so you can kind of see this. So within this library, and actually I'm in the wrong library, you can see all the cells. You can pick which ones that you want. So I'm going to go back up here to traffic plans, and I'm in the wrong one. I need to see the signal poles. The arms, we have all the poles, but then all of the arms are set in here. Okay, so I'm going to, I believe it's an E5. Well, pole 1 is an E3. So I'm going to grab this E3, and I need to make sure that I rotate this in the direction that I need, and basically it's the same rotation that we did with the poles. That was 270. I can zoom in here. I want to place these and just snap to the center of that flat face right there on the mast arm. Okay, so there I have an arm. So let's go back. Uh-oh, what happened to my dialogue or my web page? Um, that's normal when you go to place the cell and you're in MicroStation. That will basically it hides itself. You can get that back up from the menu real quickly. This one that has like the little globe on it. That's the open browser. So it brings us back to exactly where we were a minute ago. Okay, so now I need an E5, and I know I have an E5 on this pole. So let's change this to 0 and zoom in and place that. And I'm using my snaps to place these in the right place. And I probably have the wrong poles to go with these, but you would grab the right poles. And this one is 180. Oh, not 18. 180. There we go. Snap that to that one. And the last pole down here is an E6. And I'm going to zoom down here, and this needs to be 90 degrees. And my center snap, place it on them. Okay, so now I have some poles. Now I have some arms on there. So that's exercise 1 and 2. Exercise 3 is placing the signal heads. A lot of what we're going to go through is kind of using these tools back and forth, whether it's the draw cell by feature or it's going to use, the DNC manager. For the most part, you're going to be using those two tools the most. We're going to use DNC manager in order to place these signal heads. All right, I'm going to zoom into pole 1. I'll probably try to focus on this pole right here for the most part. I'm not going to go through and place all I did with the poles, but I'm not going to place everything every time from here on out. So DNC manager, let's bring that back up. And let's find the traffic signals. Okay, they are under the traffic signals right here below us. We're going to furnish and install. We'll use the aluminum. What type of signals that you use is going to be district preference. It could be based on what municipality that you're in. City of Gainesville may want to use something different than the city of Miami. Depending on where you are, that will have a lot to do with it. So you'll have to do some investigation and talk to your project managers, figure out what it is that you need to be placing out here. But once you know, then get in here and pick the right items. And the exercise that we have, it's using the 5-section one-way horizontal head. And basically notice that I double clicked on this and it seems like there's nothing happening, right? Well, I'm going to real quick, I'm going to just place 2 points and it's setting my rotation. I'm going to right click to get out of that. And I'm going to show you in here where are we telling it that. So I'm going to go to modify item. There we go. I was waiting for one more click. If ever that happens when you're working with a DNC manager and it's like you go to do an option or click in MicroStation or you try to get a different tool or anything really and it doesn't do anything, when you're in the design mode and you double click on items, what it does is it activates this key-in command for the design. A lot of our items that we have in the DNC that use cells, they have in here the active cell, so it selects that cell that we need. And then it has a command in here that says I need to set the active angle by 2 points, and it's looking for 2 data points in order to set that angle. Once I've set that angle, you'll see the cell pop up at that angle. And then it brings up the place cell command, so it's looking for 1 more data point in order to place it. Until you get through all those data points that it's asking for, it won't do anything else because it's waiting on you to finish the operation that it needed for that key in. That catches a lot of people. It still catches me from time to time. And then I go, dang it, yeah, okay, I'm not done clicking. Because sometimes you get in here, like I had just done, and say, oh, nope, never mind, and I want to do something else, and I'm go to try to do something else, and I can't. Maybe it's to select a different item, or realize too late, oh, I didn't want the 5 head, I wanted a 4 head. Just wanted you guys aware where this is coming from. If you absolutely cannot stand this, you can come in here and delete this out of this key-in. And that's why we tell you guys always go in, and when you're working with DNC, make a copy in the project directory so that you're able to make those type of changes for yourself. And it's whatever your comfort zone is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to double click, and I'm going to activate that key in, and I need to set the angle. Well, the angle needs to be, it has to sit out here on this pole, so I'm going to snap to the elements on my pole, and that's going to set it, my angle, so that it's on the pole. You always want to go from where the pole itself is out to the end of the arm. So the first one needs to be towards the pole, the second point, that way it's facing in the direction that you need it to. If I had snapped the opposite direction, my signals would be facing the other way. All right, so to place this signal head, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to use this pole down here. So, oops, go the other side. All right, so I've set the angle. I'm going to snap to, and there's a couple of different options. I happen to know with these horizontal heads, I won't be able to get them on here with just the 2 lanes here. I need 2 signal heads. Typically, what my understanding of design when you put these in is that if it's a shared signal, they go on the lane line. If it is for a specific lane, they go to the center. We're going to place both of these to the center, but you guys need to make sure that you're placing them in the right location. But I'll show you how to get it to the center. To get it to a lane line is real easy. You would just snap it to the lane line. So I want to make sure I snap. Click the O button, which will make sure that my AccuDraw origin is set there. And notice down here at the bottom, I've got, in fact, I can even pull this up to make this a little bit easier. AccuDraw, depending on which direction I move, it's going to highlight my X or Y. So if I want to leave it here, then my X is, I can set that, my X, and all I have to do is click X on the keyboard and it will lock that. Notice it highlights. Now no matter what I do, it stays here. And then I can go to my nearest key in, or snap, I should say, and snap to the pole, and it'll place it. Now I have it. What if I wanted to move this over to the center? Let's try this again. So I want to double click so I get my angle. Okay, so now I have this. Then let me, come on. I'm going to snap to my lane line, or you could just snap to the end of the stop bar. I'm going to set my origin. Okay, I've moved it over in the X direction, so X is highlighted. I'm going to place a value of 6 feet, and notice it locked it. I can't move that anywhere. And then I can come down here. It will stay at that distance, and I'm going to grab it. I'm going to snap to the pole, and it places it. Right click gets us out of the command. So there's a couple of signals. So I can come in here and I can place these signals, place this one. I can do the same thing, snap to a lane line. Oh, nope, I want to set my angle first. Set my angle. I want to click, once I snap to it, click O. It sets my X value at 0, and then snap to my pole. Okay, which I'd want to move that over the 6 feet. Okay, but that gets our signals into our view. Okay, I've already gone in and I'm gonna delete these out. And I'm going to turn these on really fast. So as we go through each exercise, basically what I've done is I've already got all of these in another model, and I just need to turn them on. So there's my signals. Let's turn them on. So there's all my signal heads. Notice that part of what I see here, let me close that, there are the boxes in here. I can't tell you where these numbers come from, but you guys that are signals guys, you should know where these numbers come from, I hope. How did these get in here? It's in our cell library. You can go back out to our cell web pages, change this from the signal poles to the signalization library. And let's scroll down here. It's like way down here. It's like a signal, where'd it go? There it is, signal head number. Okay, so we have a cell for you. So you just rotate your view, orient it to your sheet. Notice that I do have my clipboarder in here when I get down to these type of details, so that I make sure that my information is all on the sheet. I reference it to my design file. So once I have it, then you just place the appropriate number of boxes in front of each one of your signals. And then once you've placed it, there's got 2 data fields in here. You can use the edit data field, but it's going to offset the numbers. I recommend that for these that you just go in and use the edit text. That way you can come in here, select it, where'd it go? And then it should edit that. Ah, finally. I don't know what happened. And I would just put in whichever number that I needed, 5, 6, whatever. And that way it stays centered up within that box. Okay. Granted, it doesn't have the inner data field underneath it anymore, but it centers it into there like it needs to be. So that's placing my signal heads and my signal head details into my plan view. Exercise 4 is talking about the loops. The loops, again, you could use the draw cell by feature tool. You can also go in and just use DNC. It works a lot the same way as the traffic signals. Basically, I'm going to go down to the loop assemblies, and let's just grab a 20-foot type F loop. The loop information, you guys can find that out there in the indexes, the different size loops. And according to the index, I mean, it's not, no. Let's try that again. Something I can get to the other end of. Okay. Basically, it's by 2 points, just like we did before. And again, I mean, I can come in here. If I knew the station offset and where I wanted to place that loop, I could use the draw by feature tool. I don't. I'm going to use the DNC. So what I want to do is I'm going to do like I did before. I'm going to snap to the end of a lane line. I'm going to click 0 for my origin. Okay. I'm going to move this over so that I can tell it I want to move it over 6 feet with my X, and that will lock it. And then I'm going to move the Y. I'm going to type in 2, and I'll lock, enter that, and it's locked. Now it's there. The only best I can do at this point is it'll go in the opposite direction from my origin. So once it's there, all I have to do is data point in the screen, and I have my loops. Okay, so basically you would put in the appropriate loops. We've got a lot of them in here. Whichever type loops that you need, select the ones that you want to put in, and then place them all around at each of the lanes. And there's a couple of them that are a little different, like the type Gs. Those are like a series of loops. I know the type Bs, they can be placed anywhere in here, so they go kind of way back here. Look at the index. Another good resource is I don't know about the loops, but the TCD, you've got the traffic engineering manual. Should give you the information of what type of loops that you want to use. Some of it is district preference, so Definitely find out what your districts want. So that's placing the loop assemblies. Somebody's having problems getting it to bring cells in from the web cell library. It says nothing happens. You have to give one of us a call up here and let us figure out what's going on. We've had that reported before. Some of it we're not sure why. If you absolutely cannot get the cell web pages to come in and those cells like that, you can open up the cell library and do the exact same thing. Use cell web pages. I find that most people, it's kind of like AccuDraw. Either you like them and you use them all the time, or you hardly ever use them at all. It's a good tool in that you can see them. Personally, I like to use the cell libraries, but it's a personal preference. But if you have problems getting the cell web pages to work, give us a call and we'll help you get that figured out. If you change a data field to a regular number in your box ID, will that change its visibility for auto quantities? We're calculating this based on this cell and not these boxes. These are just details that go in the plans. The quantity is coming from here, so I don't know if I answered your question. It should not affect anything. Question, have we thought about reducing the size of cabinets, pull boxes, signal heads, etc. to the actual size? And that's why it doesn't fit right. The actual size of some of this stuff, it's bigger. Some of it I thought we had, like the signal heads, I thought we had done a better job of getting those. We'll need to look into those. The signal heads should be to size so you can get them on your poles. But as far as pull boxes, control boxes, or control cabinets, those kind of things, especially the pull boxes, I know we don't have those to actual size, because if I did that, you wouldn't see it hardly on the plans. It depends on the scale that you're using. If you're using a 20 scale, yeah, okay, it would probably be fine. But if you use a 50 scale, anything bigger than a 20 really, then it's very hard to see that that information, and you wind up with a lot of stuff in here. So it's kind of like, you know, the exaggerating your 6-inch white off of your edge of pavement by a few inches more so that it doesn't look like one giant blob of a line. It doesn't blend when you get it out at a 50 scale. That's the idea behind it. Have we thought about it? Yes. It's something that we can look into again and see if it needs to be addressed, but it's not changing anytime soon. Okay, somebody's asking me to show the right-of-way I don't have attached and the distance from the heads to the stop bar. I mean, I could show you the distance from this head to the stop bar because I don't have all of this drawn in this particular file. The pole locations, this is something that you guys have to design, okay? I'm not saying that my design is correct. These signals to that stop bar are roughly, I don't know, come on. So from here to there, 110 feet. Yeah. And like I said at the beginning, it's really, I want you guys to just kind of catch more of the tools and the resources that we have and not the actual design in here, because that's what I want to focus on. You guys know what you need to put out there. You guys are the designers, and you figure out where these poles need to go. But then what I'm really trying to show you and focus on is how do I get what resources do I have? I have cell libraries and I have tools that will help me place those. So that's really the focus of what this manual is really here for. Not how do I design it, but how do I take that design that I have and get it into CAD, into my sheets, so that I'm meeting FDOT standards and CAD standards to get my plans out the door. Last question, can you just place the poles randomly rather than calling out station offset? You most certainly can. Like I said, you could have used DGN element. You could go to the DNC manager. I'm just showing you all the different tools. DNC manager, I can come in here if I wanted to place a pole. Let me just grab a pole, and I need to set an angle with it. and then I can place this pole anywhere I want. That is completely up to you how you want to do it. The exercise is in the manual to show you that this is an option for you to use. That is delete. Delete this back out. Those are options for you to use in order to get it placed. Okay, if you were a CAD person and you were just doing a drafting and someone else actually did the design and they said, I want this pole placed at this station in this offset, or I want it placed 50 foot off of the edge of pavement at this location, and they gave you that information, you can use the draw by feature and place those poles to whatever this person said. Okay, it needs to be 50 foot from here and 30 foot from that edge of pavement, and then place the pole. So I'm going to keep moving. Next thing that I want to look at is placing pull boxes. In the chapter, all the pull boxes, we have station offsets set up in here for you, but you can also go in, and I'll show you as that question kind of led to. I can come up here to the pull and junction boxes, go into pull boxes, grab this pull box, set an angle. I would want to, grab an element in order to do that. So if I've got, stop bar and come back here a ways and say I've got, I think they put a type B loop back here. Okay, I could put in a pull box here. I could put in another pull box here. I put one by the pole. I could put a couple over here. Okay, wherever I needed a pull box, because I need a pull box to pull in these lead-ins, I need the conduit to run in between all these boxes. I can use DNC Manager. I can use the draw cell by feature. However you want to put these pull boxes in is completely fine. It's either, I recommend either Design and Computation Manager or the draw cell by feature, mostly because it's going to tag it with the correct pay item numbers so that you can automate the calculation of those quantities. Okay, so I'm going to undo those simply because, as I did with the other information, I have this already in another one. The next, just go over here. So we've done loops. So there's a whole bunch of loops. Yes, it was a type B in there. And pull boxes. Turn those on. I wasn't too far off. Notice there's a whole bunch of pull boxes in here. I can go in and I've got my signals. All right, so once I have that in there, I need a controller. Which corner, you guys have to decide which corner do you want to put that controller, where do you want to place it. Okay, I'm going to place it using the draw cell by feature. So let me bring that tool back up and road, plans prep, draw cell by feature. I want to grab the controller. Where are the controllers at? Controllers and cabinets. And controller assembly. And I want the 5110. Again, this is something that you guys have got to make sure you grab the right one. When I select, don't forget, when you select with the hourglass, it's just selecting the category, and you've got to automatically go to the top one. Make sure that you then click on this drop down to select the actual item that you need. That's a chain, so only 98. And I'm going to place this. It's going to be out here in by pole 3, 3360. And again, this does not, I mean, I could use this tool and turn off the station offset and just place it wherever I want. Okay. I think another reason why it has it the manuals are set up this way a lot of times is so that you get the same results each time. I'm going to place this out here. So it's placed in this cabinet out here behind pole 3. Okay, so now I have a cabinet in here along with some pull boxes. Now that I have that, basically I have all those locations. I need to connect all of that with conduit so I can run all of my cable and whatnot through those conduits to get to each of those pull boxes. And I'm going to use the DNC manager to do that. So let's bring DNC back up. And conduit, I know, is at the top. Let's go back up here to conduit. Now, with conduit, you're probably going to wind up doing this with a couple of different items in here because of the way conduit's paid for. We pay for it by the operation. So if, like for instance, I have out here these that are outside of the pavement, I would use the open trench option. If I double click on that and I have place influence turned on, it's going to set my symbology. This is also a preference, and if I come in here and place this, it's going to use my drawing scale because annotation's turned on, and I can snap from here to here. Okay, and then from that side of that pull box to that side of that pull box. Okay, so I've got this conduit running through here, but you may say, well, that's way too big. You want that to be shown smaller. Well, if that's the case, you can take, it will still use, this line style is set up to use the annotation scale. I can come in here and to DNC Manager, go to Settings, and on Settings here in the middle, there is a custom line style creation. So if I know that this is a 50 scale, I can then go in and divide that by something smaller, say a 20. Okay, no, that wasn't, I think I had that backwards. 20 divided by 50.4, okay. I want to see it in 20 scale, but it's actually 50 scale for all of the rest of my information, my text, etc. If I want to bring this in smaller, I can do that. Let's just go ahead and just connect out here, and let's see the difference in that line style. Okay, it's still using annotation scale, but we've just changed the creation scale so that it's smaller, so that whenever it draws, it looks smaller. And that may be what you want to do for your plans. That is also what was part of the manual, and it can be helpful. Another thing that I wanted to show you while we're in here is that sometimes, like looking at this conduit, but because of the scale of this line style, you don't get any of the circles. And the circles is what tells you what kind of conduit that you've run in here, as well as the labels. But if you want to show this so that you have one of these circles that's in the center, there is a way to do that. It's here. Okay, it's under my change attributes. It's within that toolbox. If I go to the fourth one down here, modified line style attributes, okay, and it brought up the tool behind here. It brings up this tool here, and I have a lot of different things that I can do with custom line styles. I can change the widths, I can change, make it fatter on one end, skinnier on another end. So I can do a lot of I can scale them, dash them, but the one I'm looking for right now is this shift. Okay, so if I grab this line with this on, notice that as I move my cursor, it's placing, it's also because I have DNC on and place influence on, it changed the scale, but it's moving this so that I can take that dot and move it. And it's pretty fast, apparently. Wow, it's being very touchy with my cursor. Okay, but I can go in here and move that. I can come in here and change this and shift these. Okay, so that is an option for you to do to make it more obvious that it's conduit. Just as another example, now I've got the directional bore, or maybe you're going to do a jack and bore, but whichever one that you need to go underneath this existing pavement here to get it over here to this other conduit or other pull box. So that's talking about the conduit, and that's all the basics that you've got for your signals. You've got to have pull boxes to access the cables. You've got to run your lines into them. You do that using through the conduit. We place links, loops, poles. I think the only thing that I missed in here is the loop lead-ins. An easy way to do the loop lead-ins is to come in here and I don't think, yeah, we pay it for it by the assembly. All right, so I'm going to move this off my screen. There is an option to, is it this one? Yes, it's this last one. Construct line at an active angle. This actually comes in pretty handy because if you look in the index, it gives you the angles that these lead-ins need to be. These type F loops, my active angle needs to be, is it 45? And I can set a length, it needs to be 2 feet. And it comes off of this corner. No, I have the wrong angle. I think I have if I rotated my view, that angle would work better. Yeah. You rotate my view around. Or you could change the angle. All right. So if I grab that tool again, where'd it go? That one. Snap to, I think that's where it goes. Okay, 45. There we go. Okay, and I would do the same thing on this loop. And then go in and you would draw. And actually this is, it's a different level. Actually, I don't even have this on the right level. There's a loop lead-in level. It's this one. And I'm going to go ahead and change the symbology. So now it'll be, at least this part will be right. You can connect the dots, bring it out here, you know, so far, and then you're going to take it to your pull box. Let's bring that in. All right, so loop lead-ins, your loops, your pulls, your arms, your just everything that you need. There's other things to consider too, but we do have the resources. You know, you're going to have, you know, the ped poles, you're going to have lighting, you're going to have a lot of other things, but in essence, you've got everything that you need. You've got the tools. We have the cells and the pay items in the DNC manager. You just have to find the right ones, and now you have the technique in order to get them into the plans. There was one more thing I wanted to show you. Let me rotate this back to my plan sheet orientation. I'm going to go back up here to, I'm going to bring up the F.Signals app. I want to go into here, and there's some details that we place for our signal heads. I mean, this doesn't give us a whole lot of information about what actually is here. Yes, it's placed on the pole at that location, but it's not giving me all the information that I need. All right, so I'm going to come up here in this top corner, and I'm going to place some of this signal detail. Okay, so first I need to see, okay, what do I have? I've got the 5-section one-way horizontal. Well, it's a left, making a left turn. Okay, so I'm going to grab that, tell it to place this tagged cell, and notice that it doesn't look like it's doing anything. That's because it's not doing anything. Oh, that's what I forgot to do. Okay, and it is a left and it is a horizontal head. Okay, so I'm going to tell it to place the tag cell. The first thing it's asking you for is the orientation. It's basically to set our angle again. I forgot about that. And then once I have that, notice it's teeny tiny. At this point, we really don't have, it's not affected by the annotation scale that we have turned on. I think I have my scale, my angle completely wrong, which I do. All right. Once you place this in the file, basically what you're going to need to do, like I said, this tool needs some work. It's nice to have, but it does need some work. And it's on the list of things that we need to work on. But I just need to come in here and set it to 50 and then scale this up by 50. And then that has the information in it. You could then come in here and say, you know, how many assemblies do you have? And even though this has got the old pay item number in it, note that it does, but I would still double check this pay item number, make sure it's the right one that you need. So you can place for however many different types of signal heads that you've got on the sheet, place this information, go in and place a title above it. But I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of when you place things in the file that you're liable to be teeny tiny, and to make sure that you understood that, yeah, that is the way that it works. And it's, yes, it's broke, but we know that it's broke, place it and then scale it. Okay, and move it to wherever it needs to go. And then it has in here inner data field, so you guys can use that in order to place all the information in. You can do that by inner data field and just place them on. Typically these things, depending on how complicated the sheet is, I know a lot of these sheets get really busy really fast, but we do have the information here to help make this easy. So I can place this in here as well. Hopefully I got the angle pretty right. And then just scale it. Maybe you want to place all of, where'd it go? And then, you know, scale them all at once and then move them as you need them, wherever you've got room for this information. But get the details in here as you need them. And I went over in chapter 4, you know, there's mast arm sheets, there's data tables, there's all kinds of other type of resources within LDM to create those type of sheets. Most of those they're under the sheets category, and there's the information, there's a data table for your strain poles, your mast arms. So that's also out there and available for you. But like I said, we covered that back in chapter, I think it's chapter 4, how to set that sheet up, any special sheets that you need in here. One question that just popped in asking about the quantities. Basically, you could use, at this point, I could go in and use DNC Manager and just to calculate, but there is a chapter on quantities, creating your quantities, creating your tab sheets, getting them into your plans, getting your summary of pay item sheets, if it was a standalone. All of that is going to be covered. Will the tables be created in Excel in order to insert them using LDM? That is a definite possibility. Decision has not been made yet. I know we have some of it already out there for you in LDM. One of the things that I'm hoping to do over the next 6 months to come out in MR3 is some enhancements and some changes, updates really, to the Signalization cell library and resources, because it's been quite some time since these resources have been touched, and they really do need an overhaul. I'll be the first to admit that. That's something that we have on our list of things to do, so hopefully we'll see that in the near future. All right, well, I hope you guys have a wonderful Wednesday, fantastic week, and I will see you guys next week.